Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFFing Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go. Just Eff It.
All right, guys. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Mamadery Monday, Mompreneur Monday.
Oh, yeah. We haven't said those in a
while. Monday Madre.
Yeah, Monday, Mamacita Mondays was one that we were talking about.
Yeah, those are all our MMs.
All right. Romy, who are we?
I'm Romy, and this is Carla, and we are two best friends, two Latin mamas, two girl moms. We've been friends for many, many moons. We've seen each other from before motherhood, into motherhood, and now effing through motherhood. And we had an Eff It moment. We said, fuck it. And we started a podcast, and that has changed every area of our lives. And so it's been something that we have kind of taken control in creating a space to hear other moms' Eff It moments, ones that they have either physically done, emotionally done. It's really just a shift in thought and mind as a mother that happens and somehow changes your life, whether that be for the positive, the negative, whether you failed, got back up. It is to be recognized that you had some sort of shift that was, maybe scary, as you have an entire family waiting on you. So,
yep. Yeah. And it's definitely, right? Like we always say, it's a messy journey and it can be a long one. But it is a path of self-discovery and ultimately for the better from what it sounds like, even when things don't work out. Like the last one we interviewed, like her Eff It moment didn't necessarily work out, but it's not about the thing. It's about the shift. And what
though, by like our last girl, by her Eff It moment not working out, something else happened to her that like is having the gift that she learned. For anyone who listened to last week's, sometimes things not working teach us things we needed to learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So these are very important shifts, and that's what it's all about. So if you're a mom out there listening to this and you know you're on the brink of an Eff It moment, you know that something needs to change or you want something to happen, like it's scary to take that first step, but listen to the stories that we share here, and it's worth it. In the end, it's worth it.
Yeah. So 100%. Who do we have on today?
So we have a mama called I believe it's Starlene. She's actually been recommended to us. So we are meeting her for the first time. So we're super excited. It's almost one of those like blind dates.
Yeah, mama blind dates.
We have not met her. We don't know her. So we're excited to bring her on and find out what that Eff It moment is that she had. From what it looks like, she has about 5 kids. So I know there's an Eff It moment or a couple in there. So all right, we're going to bring her in just a second. Okay, everyone, we have Starlene here, and we are just going to jump right into the questions. So our first question to you is, what brought about this mental shift to say Eff It that you're going to share with us today?
I really felt strongly before having kids, because we tried really hard to have kids and went through infertility treatment. I had all these expectations for myself that once I had another human that didn't care what I had planned as far as being a mom, I had to let that go and just say Eff It and just parent what was best for us. Not because I read it in some book or my friend had a baby and told me that this was going to work best or this should be easy because social media portrayed it as such. And so I spent a lot of time having all these plans, and then that human was like, I don't care. This is what I'm going to be like.
I feel like expectations are the devil. I think I've just made that decision. Like expectations are the devil, because whenever you go into anything, I remember I kept my expectations low dating, and it was actually great to not have those expectations, like when you just release those, things end up surprising you and coming out so much better than when you have them going in, because most of the time you go in and then you're disappointed. So they are the devil, in my opinion.
Like, keep them on a schedule and they should be in bed by this time and all those things. And it's like, well, I really don't want to put my kid to bed at 6:30 because I want to go out to dinner and I don't want to eat at 4.
I
Right.
think Starlin, like one of the biggest things to clarify for anyone listening to, and we had talked about this right before she jumped on, is letting go of the expectations, right? Saying F it to all the advice and guidance we get into motherhood and listening to our own fucking advice, right?
I mean, we are told everything we're supposed to do, but no kids are the same. I have
No.
5 kids. All 5 are different, and what works for one doesn't work for the other, and so I have to be so flexible by the second, honestly. And so going into it and being like, this is how it should be and this is how it is, and then getting advice from people that I'm like, do you have this many kids? Did you do this too? Like, if we have the same exact life, please tell me what works for you, but I guarantee we don't.
Oh, I love that you said that too, because like Carla and I are moms of one. So what works for us and our structure of one, I could never give you advice because the truth is I have no idea what it's like to have more than one.
I
Yeah. So we
commend
had
you too.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had one. So we had one, and then 2.5 years later, we had quadruplets. So we went from
Oh,
0 to 1, and then 1 to
oh,
5.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How was that? Cuz
yeah.
there right there you had an expectation because you already had a kid, so you went into
Mhm.
it thinking, it's going to be this way and then you find out you have 3. Like holy
No,
shit.
4 more
Oh
Qua.
my god.
You
quads.
had four. You
Oh
had
my
four
god,
kids.
4 more. Yes, that's right, quad. Oh
Yes.
my
You
god.
had four
Yeah.
Wow.
kids at one time. You carried 4 children.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So nobody really has any room to tell you about what to do
No.
because the most of us have
Yeah.
never fucking done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time too,
Yes.
like I hope you
Like,
write a book.
I think it's funny because sometimes people are like, "I have 5 kids." I'm like, "Oh, why?" And I'm like, "Oh, I also have 5 kids, but I
Yeah.
didn't mean to, and I wouldn't have done it on purpose." I love all my kids, and it's great to have them, but it's a lot of work, and so
So let me ask you this, and Starlin, like, what were the opportunities that opened up for you since saying F it to listening to everyone's expectations of what type of mother you were supposed to be for all of your children?
I think it made me a much happier, joyful mom. Like, I was enjoying all the time that I spent with them, and I wasn't disappointing myself, like,
Yeah.
having that feeling constantly of being like, I really had this plan today and it didn't work out, and it made it much easier for things to roll off my back. And I think it helped set me up for when I had this second pregnancy and I thought I was having one more baby, but I had 4, which all my expectations went out the window. But going into having more kids, I realized, like, I'm just going to have to continue to go every day where it's going to be rolling off my back. And then having the quads, it made it easier for me to just realize there is no blueprint that's going to be easy to follow without, if I'm going to let myself down by saying, like, this is what I wanted for the day. So I think it just really helped me go into every day with an open mind. Even on my rough days now, the quads just turned 3. They go to bed and I'm like, all right, tomorrow's another day. Like, they were all in a bad mood today. Hopefully tomorrow's better. We'll see. It just made it much easier for me to enjoy the day to day dumb stuff that happens. And now I just, like, get a lot of joy of just seeing them be a bunch of 3-year-olds, like, at my own preschool class now.
I was going to say in regards to the theme that seems to be super common in becoming a mom in being like feeling successful in your mom journey is surrendering.
Mhm.
Like you just have to let shit go
Right,
cuz
you have to let it go. Like, I remember being like, my kids are always gonna be dressed this way, and I love getting my kids dressed up and playing, but I'm never gonna be the mom that's like, "Oh my gosh, they got dirty and it's ruining everything," or I laugh when it's the picture, and I'm laughing a lot more of the stuff where it's like, I feel like it would have let me down with the expectations. Like, I really wanted that perfect picture and I really wanted that. I find myself laughing and thinking it's funny of it. When my kids are falling, I'm not making a big scene. If they're disagreeing with one another, if they're disagreeing with other people. And it also made me feel like these are the things I want to instill in my children. And so I'm not going to make them give in to what everybody else says is what kids should be like. They're not going to have to do all the things that everyone else says it should be like, because I don't want my kids to be turned out in a way that they feel like they have to meet these other outside. requirements of what it is to be a good person or a good human. Like they need to be able
Isn't
to.
that like the expectation that we talk about on here that they put on moms that we're trying to fight? Like we've already had to break the fucking boundaries of like what type of mother we're all supposed to be when every household is different, every marriage is different, every child is different, every
Mhm.
one of us is individually different, right? And then to say our children now all have to meet this, and this, all we're doing is like then putting that on to the next generation,
Right.
right?
Like I
Yeah.
want my kids to know that no matter what, I'm a safe place for them. Like,
Yes.
am I going to like everything they do? No. Would I have encouraged everything that they did? No, but I'm going to be here and love them regardless of anything. As long as
Yes.
they're honest, as long as they're accountable, as long as they're true to who they are. But I'm not going to say like, well, Joe down the street says that whenever a kid walks up to you and says, "I want that toy, give it to me," and I have to say you have to share. Like that's not real life, because if you're at work and someone says like, "I want that project, give it to me," you're not going to be like, "Here, like take this
Yeah.
opportunity." I don't think that's the way I want to raise my kids. I don't want them to be like that in the future, so I'm not going to teach them that now. It doesn't make
Right.
sense to me.
Well, it sounds like the next question, it sounds like only positive things have come from relinquishing these expectations for you, correct? Like
Mhm.
learning, what have you learned about yourself since just saying F it and letting go of these things? Obviously, you're more joyful, you're more at
Mhm.
peace, and you're much more of a warm, loving mom. What else? What else is there that you've learned about yourself since this journey?
I've learned that in order to be the best mom I need to be happy with me and do things that are going to bring me joy, because I can't be on all the time. I'm
Yeah.
Nope.
overstimulated. At some point of the day, I'm like, if someone touches me, I'm leaving. I'm running
Yeah.
Girl, I
away.
was having anxiety hearing just that you had 4 at the same time. So, like, your
Yeah.
nervous system is like,
Yeah, I get
you're
very
on
like
another
touched
level.
out. Touched out times 4 is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. Well,
Wild.
well, I have a question for you then, because a
Mhm.
lot of moms find it really hard to do things for themselves. How are you able to do that with so many kids?
Help, help
Help.
paying people. My
Mhm.
mother is super involved in my kid's life, and so I rely on them a lot. My husband is a partner, and he is not like who's when people say like who's watching your kids, I'm like, watch, they're with their dad. He's not watching them, he's parenting them. Like,
Amen.
Right.
and we have 5 kids, 4 are girls. And so it's important to me that we're model I know my one son is just overrun, but we're modeling like a relationship is equal. Like the mom isn't just the one in charge of everything. The dad is doing just as much as me. And if he's not, I'm going to tell him like you need to step it up. And but I'm modeling that for my kids. Like you should be in a partnership with someone if you want to have kids together, even if you're not together or you are together, like it's a partnership. So we're doing it 50-50. And if he wants to go out and do what he wants to do, that's fine. But I'm doing the same thing. And we're
Yes.
going to feed that pot too. Like we're going to go do things together, and I'll pay a babysitter because sometimes we need that time away from our kids. I can't watch Blippy all day and
No, I'm so
hear
glad you
like,
said that though, because so many here's the expectation there. I'm a failure if I ask for help. I'm a failure if I need a break. I'm a failure if I can't handle all of this. And that is not the truth. It is
no,
true
I mean,
strength
like
to get help.
it's funny to me when people are like, I cannot believe you leave your kids with a babysitter. I would never. Well, that's good for you.
Yeah, good for
That's
you.
great for you. I'm glad that you sit home all day and stare at your kids and get joy. I don't. I'm not a stay-at-home mom. Moms that are stay-at-home moms, like kudos to you. I'm proud of you, but my brain shut down when I was
Yeah.
out of work having like I went back to work. I'm a nurse, and I get joy from doing that. And so being at work
Yeah.
and using that part of my brain, I was able to come home and turn that off and turn on the part of my brain that's a mom brain. And I
Yep.
felt like so much I was enjoying being a mom more by having filling up the cup of being myself more.
Absolutely.
I can't lose myself in my kids.
Yes, absolutely. And what we always talk about this, like that's the lesson you also teach your kids is like if
Mhm.
you as their mom take care of yourself, that's important because it only feeds everybody else. Like if you come home or you're at home and you're just a shell of yourself, like what are you going to show your kids? Like what sort of lesson
Oh,
is
for
that?
sure. Yeah.
I mean, I had a physically present mom, but mentally like not present. And
Mhm.
honestly, I probably would have rather her like be going to work, so I didn't have that
Right.
negative association to her. You know what I mean?
And
Oh,
there
yeah.
listen, there are moms that are stay-at-home moms and they're, making homemade Play-Doh and play dates. I'm proud of
I
you.
was Starlin, I was one of those, and I think it's important to say this because it shows the diversity. I was the stay-at-home mom who, like, fucking loved it. Carla saw
Mhm.
me. Like, I loved it. And when I had to go back into the workforce, it was so fucking hard for me. Carla was not the same way. You were not the same way. But
Yeah.
guess what? There is room for all of us to
Oh,
fucking go
for
at this
sure.
differently. And that's what I think is important, that like listening to other moms, hearing other stories, and like being like what you said, not one way works for everyone. And
For
let's
sure.
start making more room for that.
Mhm.
And stop putting your judgment like that person telling you, like, I
Yeah.
can't believe you put your baby, with a babysitter. It's like, come on, dude. Like, you know how hard it is to be a mom. Like, keep your shit to yourself. Like, let
Right.
people do what works for them because it does nothing to your life. So
Right.
stop putting that judgment on me.
And when we had the quads, we got this instant social media following and a lot of interest in it. And I think for me, I've always had this like kind of imposter syndrome because I'm like, what do you care about us, right? People following us and asking for
Yeah.
advice and tips and what should I buy? Like that feels very not natural for me because I'm like, so my number one thing when people are like, how do I do this? What do you say? What's your recommendation? I always say, this is what worked for me. Will it
Right.
work
That's a
for
great
you?
way to
No.
say it.
If you don't like it, don't do it. If it
That's a
doesn't
great way
work
to
for
say
your
it, because you know what?
kids,
Even another family that has quadruplets, right? It may not be the same 4 kids. They may be differently wired than you. So all you can do is give your basic information that works for you guys, but that does not mean it's going to work for that family.
right. And I talk to other quad moms and they're like, we discuss things and they're like, how do you handle it? I'm like, my husband works really hard. I work really hard because financially it makes more sense to us to work harder to pay for things so that we can do things. And I understand
Hmm.
that that's not the way it works for everybody. And we have been very fortunate. We have a lot of help from my family. So that helps us too. But we know that this is what we need to work for our family. And that's not going to work for everybody else. That's not real life for everybody else. And so I don't ever want anybody who's following us on social media to think that, you know, every day is easy or this is how it is. I'm going to come on my stories and I look like a real mom. I'm not hair, makeup, whatever. One, I'm not good at makeup. Two, you're lucky I put on clean clothes today because I worked 3 12-hour shifts and I'm tired. And so I think what made us more likable was the fact that we are just very down to earth and I'm showing a real life scenario. Do we get to do a lot of fun things? For sure. Do we make an effort to do a lot of fun things with our kids? Yes, but like a lot of people think that we're getting gifted all this stuff for free. I'm like, no,
Right.
we're working really hard to do this stuff for our family. We want them to have these memories, have these things, but it just is it's funny because sometimes I'm like, why do these people care what I'm doing or what I
You know,
have?
we
But
see people and we think they have it figured out. And the truth is we're all just figuring it out. And I think the more honest we are with that, we're all winging it. Yes.
sometimes
Can
I
we
go to
not all look back at our own parents and realize they were fucking winging
They were
it?
also
Like,
fucking winging it.
they did not know what
yeah,
they were doing.
look, my mom had 3 kids at 23
Yeah.
and now like I had my kids in my 30s and like my mom had her kids really young and was like a grandmother. I think like I don't even know, like late 30s, whatever. And I'm like, how did you do that? Like,
Yeah.
one, I wish I had the energy of being 20 to have 5 kids, but two,
Yeah.
like, how did you have the you guys were much more mature than this generation because I'm like, I can't believe people let me have kids and I'm 39.
Oh,
Like,
hell yeah. If I was having kids at 20, like, oh, no. And my mom had me at 20, there's no way. Starlin, my next
mm-mm.
question though would be like, when you are feeling this pressure of doing these things, how do you work through that negative self talk, from like letting anyone down or the expectations? How do you push through that?
I look at it like really honestly at the end of the day when I lay my head down, I need to know that I'm my kids know that they're loved by me. I may not have been the best mom that day. I might have been overwhelmed and short-tempered, but I'm going to apologize. I'm going to take accountability. I'm going to mostly apologize is a big thing for us. Like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings.
Same.
Mommy's
Hmm.
having a bad day. Or I will say to my husband, to like, we have a nanny who is basically my other child. I'm like, I need a break. And I know that. And am the first one to apologize and take accountability for the things that I've done wrong. But I know that if my kids know that they're loved, my husband knows that he's loved. He may not be loved as much as he wants, but he knows that he's loved as much as I can give him that day. That's okay with me because I don't need the outside noise. Because at the end of the day, that doesn't matter, right? Like I don't need the opinion of other people to affect how I live my life and how I value my life.
Of course,
Is how I look at it.
absolutely.
I think that is the positive shift with our generation and younger is that we are because a lot of us like are going to therapy and have a lot more tools available to us than were our parents that we can actually step aside from our ego and be like, you know what? I was a shitty mom today. I'm really sorry. Like the repair is the repair is so important. Like we're all going to fuck up. But like, I could only imagine if my mom ever apologized to me, I'd be like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I do that with my daughter every day. Like when I fuck up, I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I messed up, and it's not your fault." And I think that goes a really, really long way. And this generation is doing a lot of that, and I think that's
Right.
gonna lead to healthy adults.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the hard like in my late 30s, I work with people in their 20s, and it's so hard for them to say like I made a mistake. That's like taking accountability is so hard for them. And so I try like with my kids, I'm like, that is something that they need to be okay with saying, right? Making a mistake is normal and natural. Like if you go through life every day and don't make a mistake, tell me your secrets because you've cracked the code. But I mess up every day, right? Like
Yeah, or you're just not
it's real
living life,
life.
and you're
Nobody is
yeah,
fucking going through
yeah,
life without making a mistake. It is not
Right.
fucking possible. And nobody has the Bible of parenthood. And anybody who tells you they do is fucking full of shit and needs to go
Mm,
therapy because there's no rule book on how to do this.
right.
There's no one way, there's no right or wrong. It is so individualized and it needs to be more okay.
It's
hmm
okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not nail it every
Yep.
time.
Yes. And we're not gonna nail it every day.
yeah,
We're not.
and
Yeah.
and openly admit it.
Some days I go to sleep, I'm like, wow, I was the best fucking mom. I go to bed, I'm like, people are gonna wish they were the mom I was today. Tomorrow, the next
Yeah.
day, I'm like, nothing has gone right. We're only eating fruit
Yeah,
snacks.
and like it's the bitter and the sweet because like on the days
Right.
when we do nail it, we're like, man, I fucking mommed good today. Like I was good. And then on those shitty days, you're like, that wasn't my best. I didn't really show up my best today.
You're like, I really just phoned it in. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. Like, we all have the flu. We're crying together.
Yeah. We'll try again
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll try again
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I know this is a little off topic, but going back to the fact that you had said that, you have help
Hmm.
for moms out there that don't have family and all of that. If they've got friends, then they got to tap into their friends, because there
Hmm.
might be a mom here being like, I don't have family like she does. So like that doesn't pertain to me. But if you have friends, then you could. And if you don't, there are communities out there that you can be a part of if you feel that you need that help and support. There's so much out there and so much more accessible to us now than before.
Oh,
So
for sure.
I just wanted to make sure I touched on
Yeah.
that because there could have been someone that was like, well, I don't have family. There's friends, there's resources, there's community
Well,
groups.
there's always going to be somebody that says, I don't have that. You have that. You have this. I don't have that. And like that's where it becomes like, you got to figure it out for you. You got to look at what you have. What does your home
Hmm.
have that we don't have? And how do you go about it
My parents are super involved. That's not,
for everybody?
on both sides of our family, right? Like my husband's family isn't, and that's its whole other thing. And
Right.
that's fine. But I work harder to make these things available for me. And I reach out often and made it a point to, and then the other thing I made it a point to was the more help I get and the more support I've gotten from people, because a lot of people reached out with our quads and that was
Hmm.
attention getting, is I offer that help to other people. Like when
Yeah.
I know people are having a hard time, or I'm like, I will help with let me pick your kids up from school today. Let me buy dinner for people. Let me send you a DoorDash because I know how lucky I am, right? It's fortunate that it's not real life for everybody. It isn't.
You're a better woman than me. You're a better woman than me. If I had 4 kids and some
It's not realistic to
Yeah.
think that everybody would
yeah,
be as fortunate. I
Yeah.
get how fortunate I am,
yeah.
and I think like I'm going to put that good energy out there and know that I see it in myself, right? Like I don't need to broadcast it for other people, but I'm going to
Right.
go out of my way. If I see someone struggling, and I have a lot of friends with babies around the same age, and we will bitch about our kids together, bitch about our husbands, but we'll also celebrate each other's kids and
Yes.
celebrate each other's wins. And that has helped too,
Yes.
Yeah.
like I don't need like the family thing. I also need that mental support. Like, did I handle this situation well? Or am I going to have to pay for much more therapy for my kid in the future? That's my balance. Like, how much therapy?
Yeah, that's amazing. You're paying it forward. You're paying
Right.
it
I'm
forward
trying
because
to. I'm trying.
yeah. No, you definitely are because like yeah, like Romy said, you're a better person, they're a better mom or a better person than me. Like I had to think like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. If I want that, I need to do that more too. Like if we can't just expect to take and not give. So that's a good reminder as well that like if you also like need the support, you have to give support too.
Full circle.
So the next question I wanted to ask you, well, now we know what sort of mom you've become since you've said F it. It's more peaceful, more easygoing. But like, how were you before that? Like, were you just like, just tell us how you were? I'm curious because there are going to be other moms that are still in that right now.
I was so concerned about seeming a certain way to other people. Like I was so concerned that people were looking at me and thinking, "Oh my gosh, her baby's crying in HEB and she's not doing anything to help her baby." Like those things, I would get this anxiety of like all these people are judging me and all these people are looking at me like I'm a bad mom. And then honestly, when you look back at it, I'm like, no one cared what I was doing. No other mom in HEB is like caring,
Yeah.
but in my mind, I was like, there's a spotlight on me. Everyone thinks I'm doing a bad job. Everyone's judging me, but no one really gave a shit, right? I wasn't that important.
I heard a podcast that was like the biggest thing to change is when you realize, I'm sure Carla, we've listened to the same one, but where no one really fucking is looking at you or cares. No,
Yeah.
it's us that thinks everyone is looking at us that cares. But like you
Totally.
said, those other moms have their own kids to worry about. Their last
Right.
thing they're doing is putting all their attention on how you're parenting.
Yeah. And the people that do most of the judging are people without kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. And listen, before I had kids, I was like, when I have kids,
Right.
my kids will never, because I'm
Right.
going to be perfect. And then I had kids and I was like,
Yeah.
fine, do it. I don't even care. It's not worth the fight or the stress. We're just going to let you have that snack and move on with my day.
Yep. Yep.
It's so true. You've got to release that. I told myself like when I had a kid, I was going to do it so different than my mom and I was never going to do the things she did. And I have found myself doing very similar things that I had to go through as a child. And at the end of the day, I give myself grace, and then I give other moms grace because at the end of the day, our kids know they're loved. They're safe.
Oh, for sure.
They know
And the
we're
thing, like,
human.
and I think now, like, my mom didn't have as much outside noise as I have.
Yeah.
And it's from, you know, you scroll through TikTok and every other one is a mom like, this is how you're damaging your child forever by saying they can't have 3 cookies instead of 2. And
Well, it's social media. You have to
yeah,
remember when we were being raised, you weren't comparing and competing with the entire world on
right.
what motherhood looked like. You had a few friends that you kind of like compared it to, like maybe Linda down the street looks perfect, right? But you didn't have every mother from here across the world showing off how they mother. And then all of us being
Right.
like, why the fuck doesn't mine look like this? You know?
Yeah.
Right. They're making full 4-course meals for their kids' lunch, and
Yeah.
I'm just defrosting Uncrustables.
Like
Yeah.
yesterday, like I didn't have breakfast. I ran out of food. I didn't go grocery shopping. I tried to swing by Starbucks. And then by the time I got to Starbucks, I realized her backpack was at the house and dropped my kid off with like nothing. Like this shit happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, then your kid's like, you forgot to put a snack in my backpack. Now everyone knows that you
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, were you starving or like,
I was going to say, every mom out there who follows these picture perfect accounts, please know that it is curated
Curated.
for you to only see the pretty, because you know that in the background, there's fucking laundry to be done, dog shit on the carpet, kids puked on it, like it's not real. So
Well, I think it's
don't
important
compare.
too. Like we just had Whitney on our show and I loved it because Whitney is a social media curator. And if you ever go to her Instagram page with all her children that she's adopted, it is the most beautiful images you've ever seen. And then she
Yeah.
comes on and talks about her depression and how rough it is on her and reaching out for for help and medicine. And you just never know what someone is going through. So again, what you see on social media, how people hype things up, please, another reminder, this is social media, and we as mothers are being faced with a fucking lot. It's a lot
Oh,
to
for
live up
sure.
to.
And I had really bad postpartum anxiety. Thank you, Zoloft,
Uh-huh.
for making me not be crazy. But I a lot of it is like I force myself to be uncomfortable by showing. Like recently I posted this TikTok of me like cleaning my kids' playroom after Christmas. So the quad's birthday's January 18th, and Christmas is right there. So it just becomes a disaster, right? Try really hard not to buy my kids 1,000 toys, but people gift them things. And it's always like little stuff that makes the mess. I posted this TikTok of me like cleaning out um their playroom and getting rid of stuff. And it's just so funny reading the comments where people are like, your kids are spoiled, ungrateful kids. They don't clean. I'm like, they're 3.
Yeah.
If your 3-year-olds can clean and organize a room, can I hire them to train my kids? Because
Right. But first of all, even if our kids did clean the room, my daughter destroys that room. Okay. She's one kid. She's like, oh, I'll
right,
clean it up. And yes, I want to teach her to clean it, but also I'm going to have to go in there and clean it up anyway. They
right,
can't clean
right.
properly.
And
Yeah.
they put, I'll say, go put this in the playroom,
Yeah.
and they throw it from the
Yeah.
door. Like, I'm not going to show you like every book is alphabetized and my kids
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah.
playroom. They're supposed to play in it. I
Yeah.
lost the wheels fell off at some point. It's the
We have
holidays. It's
lost every
Christmas.
toy under the sun
I've
in that
I've
room.
been
Yeah.
traveling. Not a puzzle has every piece. We're missing
Yeah.
wheels off every car. Like I don't give a shit. Like this is real life. I'm gonna clean it
Yeah.
up, but one, I'm not asking you to come clean my house.
Yeah. First of all, I can't even imagine you traveling when you said that, like we travel, and I'm just picturing you with
Oh my god,
all
the
of your
traveling.
children traveling. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have, it's anxiety for me.
It's usually like my nanny and I, who she's basically my wife. We
Yeah.
take because that's what I need as a wife. I don't really need
Yeah.
another husband. I need a wife
Like,
because they're more organized and they know exactly what I need. But we drive with the kids. My husband takes all the stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I had to do so much work." I'm like, "Next time, you're taking these fucking kids, and I'm taking the long route home." Because they just yell at me for snacks, and they're yelling at me because the movie's skipping, and I'm not having fun
yeah.
anymore. And I don't care if we're going to the beach, but I'm getting a purse or something.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid for this.
Oh
I'm not doing
my
this for free next time because this is bullshit. I'd rather literally walk to Florida
Yeah.
with everything on my back than drive both ways with them.
That is hilarious. This is
Oh,
what moms need to hear. Like this
yeah.
is real life. Like it is not
Yeah,
perfect.
no, it's
It
not.
is
And like,
crazy and a messy and everything.
Yeah.
it's, I think I feel really lucky. I have a partnership with my husband, and we can have these honest conversations,
Yeah.
and he laughs about it. And some days we get into bed and we're like, that fucking sucked, right?
Yeah.
And we used to like we joke around, and people get really offended. Where I was like, you know, Zoe, our oldest, I'm like, she was bottom baby today. She did
Yeah.
this,
She
and this
got
wrong.
nothing.
Or I'm like, this was top baby, bottom baby, and we joke. It's variable throughout the minute what kid is nice because I'm like, oh, they're being so nice to me, and
This
then
is like parenthood though. Like this is like so authentic. Like you guys, this morning I was like dropping my daughter off, and one of my best friends texted me to let me know, hey, I just want you to know I didn't burn the house down last night and all the kids are okay. Because when she went to
right,
bed, she was losing her mind. So my morning text from my mama friend is house isn't whole, kids are dropped off. We're gonna live through today. We
yeah,
no one died, you know? Like
I'm like, some days are great. Some days you're like, that went really well, and then when those days happen, honestly, right before I fall asleep, I'm like, be prepared for tomorrow
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're gonna lull me into a sense of safety, and then they're just gonna turn on me and things are just gonna go wrong. So I have to be prepared at all times for things. I'm just counting down till nap time, and they've only been up for 20 minutes.
I think the biggest thing though there is like you need to be prepared in motherhood for anything. So if there was
Yeah.
any advice I would give a mom that wasn't telling them how to do their sleep schedule or their food is, hey, just be prepared for fucking anything, okay? Like
Yeah. Yes.
we don't know how
Like
this is
take
gonna
those
roll.
expectations that you have,
Yeah,
toss them in the garbage. You don't know.
Yeah.
amen. My last question then would be, what message of empowerment would you give to your children and the people listening in regards to this?
Do what's going to be the best for you and makes you happy. What works for your family, other people aren't going to agree with, and people are going to tell you you're wrong, but those people aren't in your inner circle, and the people that matter, your foundation of your family, that's what you need to work on. Not everybody else's outside noise, just who's in there. Be genuine to what you guys need, not versus trying to appease everybody who's telling you everything you should be doing.
100%.
Yeah. We all need to hear
We are
that
like
sometimes.
just so grateful for you to jump on with us. And we hadn't met you or known you before this. We were saying when you came on, it was like kind of a blind date, a mommy blind date to to getting to know you. But we appreciate your story and like your message. Where can people follow you? Where can they what are you working on? Where can they find you?
So on Instagram and TikTok at CAF Squad, CAFF Squad. And you'll see just our family and our day-to-day life, messes that you can judge us for. That's fine. I don't care. But yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We really appreciate your rawness because it is just that is motherhood and it is just not perfect. And so
Oh,
we
for
just have to
sure.
laugh and just be like, this is just how shit goes.
Yeah,
So
literally.
so thank you for that reminder.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. This was a lot of fun.
This is where we're each gonna say just F it. Darling, do you want to go first?
Just F it.
Just F it.
Just F it.